We're at the property here, the Ohio property, checking on some stuff today. We've got a few things we want to do. I want to trim up around the trails a little bit more. I like to keep them trimmed up. We're going to be checking on a few things, and another thing I want to note is that the hunt giveaway does start on June 1st like we were hoping for. We did get that all ready to go. The legal work is all in the process and it will be launched on June 1st. There's going to be a website link in the description below, and that is the website where the hunt giveaway will go live. And essentially how this is going to work is, you know, every $1 of merchandise you purchase is going to get you more entries towards winning the hunt plus a crossbow. And when you win the hunt, you get travel included, you get your stay included. So like we'll get like an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever it ends up being. All that will be paid for by us, and we'll also be giving you guys $15 a meal, average for 3 meals a day for the days that you're gonna be here hunting, and we'll be giving you that in advance so you can spend that however you like, but that is us compensating you guys for your meals for the experience. If you don't spend any of that money on that and you just wanna, you know, spend it on something completely different, that's up to you, but we're gonna include that. We're also going to be including a crossbow, so you're gonna be getting a 2021 Killer Instinct 415, which I'm actually going to be ordering that here soon, and we're going to be doing some videos on it so you guys can actually see the crossbow that you're going to be winning with your hunt. And if I end up really liking it, wanting to keep it for myself, I might just buy a brand new one and then have it in the box and then put together just in time for when you get here for your hunt, and then we can sight it in together, have a good time, hang out. It's going to be kind of like an experience type of hunt, but also the prize is the crossbow and the hunt and the lodging and travel and all that stuff included, even your license and permit, which is about $285 if you're coming from outside of the state of Ohio, which I'm just gonna assume that there's a good chance that that's gonna happen. And you get to come out and hunt on our personal property with us, or if you'd like to hunt separate and hunt on your own, that's fine too. You're gonna be able to shoot whatever you'd like in terms of buck or doe. That's up to you guys. One tag and you get to fill it with whatever you want. So let's say you want to buck hunt the first couple days, and then the last day or two, you're like, you know what, I just want to fill the tag. We've got lots of does here, and I would be totally fine with you shooting a doe as well, trust me. It's gonna be a blast. We're gonna have a lot of fun. You know, Reagan and I will probably be out here trying to take some deer as well, and just have a good time. Maybe you'll tag out early and we'll just get to hang out and hunt with me, or just go home early if you want to, however you want to do it. But it's going to be a lot of fun nonetheless, and you guys are going to want to get in on this. So I'm a little bit pissed right now. So I come over here to check this trail camera out, you know, because I put the trail camera up a little bit higher. As you guys know, if you watched a few videos back, the video that's got, I don't know, 5,000-6,000 views right now, it said that I'm dealing with teenage trespassers stole from the wrong landowner. So I moved the camera up a little bit higher, so it's a little bit harder to reach, and also that way they'd have to struggle a little bit more to get to it, which might give me more time to get more pictures of them. You guys know when I put out that huge feed / protein block, that was probably, I want to say, close to 2 weeks ago now, right? At least 2 weeks ago now, actually. The last picture I got was on May 22nd, and I thought it was very odd. There's the picture, right? Young buck sitting there. Oops, can't see the block. There's the block, right? Huge block. It looks like it's hardly even been touched. That was May 22nd. Well, let me swipe over to the very next picture. Same deer, but I just got the date in there. As you can see the date, May 22nd, okay? The block's gone. The feed I was expecting to be gone because of raccoons and whatever else. But 4 days ago, that entire, well, when I'm filming this, I don't know if you'll see this exactly at the same time, 4 days back, but 4 days ago, that entire block was sitting here, looked like it wasn't touched yet hardly, like they'd hardly even started on it. And then I come over here, my camera, switch was flipped off, protein block's gone. Because I'm pretty sure when I put that other protein block out, let me check the date of that video, because that video went up the day after I had put that out. So let's go check the date of that video. May 19th, which means that I put it out on the mineral block I put out here on May 18th. It was still here on the 22nd, untouched. I was getting pictures and video of deer from the day I put it out on the 18th all the way up until the 22nd, and the block literally hadn't moved. The deer had been here eating the feed and whatever else, and then I come over here, camera's turned off, protein block is gone. It doesn't even look like anything cool. It just looks like a brown block, like a feed. I mean, it's just got corn and stuff on it, you know. It's nothing special. What do you guys think is the best way to deal with people like this? Police were already notified. He already went to the door, knocked on the door and said, hey, landowner doesn't want any trouble. He's not gonna press any kind of charges or anything for his other stuff already going missing and getting photos of your kids doing this stuff. He just wants to be left alone. And then they're still coming over here and swiping stuff just to piss me off. Or do you just do nothing and hope that they get bored of me not paying attention and not really caring, and then hope they don't come back? I don't know. Guys, check out this clover plot back here. I just mowed this plot off 2 days ago. I mowed it for the first time, and it was getting kind of long. Quite a bit of grass was starting to try to compete. I mowed it off just a few days ago, and now look at it. Super, super healthy looking, lush, and it is just straight clover coming up. I mean, this is looking very, very, very good. Very good. Now, when you look at it from off in the distance like this, it looks kind of sparse, but when you get up close, this stuff is super lush, holding up great, tolerating the browse, totally fine. You can see the little cage over here. I actually moved the cage before I mowed so that I could mow this as well. And you can see that actually inside the cage and outside the cage, let me show you if you can see the difference. There is more browse pressure on the outside of the cage compared to in the cage, which means the deer are eating it already, but it's not doing that bad. It's still handling pretty darn good. The rain we got a couple days ago really helped with this stuff to shoot up, taking on some really, really good growth. You can check this out, this whole trail down through here. I mean, this just looks gorgeous, just absolutely beautiful. Check it out, guys. Oh man, I'm so excited. You guys are gonna have a blast coming out here and hunting with us. I mean, oh man, I'm gonna tell you a story. The time I saw nearly 100 deer at one time over here. I'm actually going to go over and sit by the spot that I'm talking to you guys about, and this is going to blow some of you guys' minds. And I also want to tell you why I picked the date range to do the hunt that I did. And there's actually a really good reason for it, and I'll fill you in here in just a moment. You can see this trail of hinge cut trees I did along this river, so you can sneak back to the stand over here and keep these deer from over on this far side of the river from seeing you on your way in. Here is the spot, and this is probably one of the craziest hunts of my lifetime. I've seen a few pretty freaking crazy hunts, and I've seen some like crazy deer numbers before, but this felt unreal to me, especially since it was my own ground. Between 80 and 100 deer out here at one time, and it was pretty insane. And so first off, let me get into some stuff here. The hunt giveaway ends on November 30th. You guys will get the option to pick a 3-day hunt between December 7th and February 7th. Let me fill you in on why I chose those dates, because there's going to be some guys that don't really understand this property and this area and whatever, and you know, they might be like, oh well, I don't want to enter to win that then because, you know, the rut's already over. Let me tell you what, this property, I would way rather hunt this property late season than I would the rut. It just becomes a freaking circus in here, and I'll fill you in a little bit on what I'm talking about. This property is located just inside a city limit zone, right outside of the no city limit zone. Literally the city limit zone line is right on the far side of the property. So I own the biggest chunk of timber within the city limits here, and there's a huge finger of timber that goes into the city limits. It connects to the back of my property, and a huge strip of timber that goes for like 50 miles that goes on the outside of my property towards the outside of city limits. It goes for a long ways along a river system. These deer on either side of the city limits just funnel in here once guys start hitting the tree stands. Late October, early November, everybody's getting out in the stands, you know, it's the rut, everybody's getting in the stands and, you know, trying to shoot a deer or whatever. Luckily, half the neighbors, actually, most of the properties inside the city limits to this side of me don't hunt. One's an old guy who owns a bunch of ground, he doesn't hunt. The other is, I'm not going to name off the buildings because I don't want anybody actually locating it, but there's a few other city-owned properties that are no hunting or trespassing for any reason. like off limits type deal, right? So my property is the only one that's huntable within the city limit zone. So yes, it is archery only, which is why we're offering a crossbow. And the reason we're offering a crossbow is because anybody can use a crossbow, and I don't really want somebody out here shooting with, you know, a compound or traditional bow that is not comfortable doing that. If there's somebody that, you know, they have a traditional bow or a compound bow and they want to come out and do it that way, that's totally fine. You can bring your own bow and do that. I'm just offering a crossbow because it's something that's, you know, user-friendly to anybody that wants to come out to the woods. As long as you're patient and you take good shots, pretty much anybody can shoot a deer with a crossbow. So that being said, the property acts as like a sanctuary from outside hunting pressure. It's just a crazy good thing. You know, late September when the season opens, October, that time of the season, it's still good. We still see a lot of deer. And in that time of the season, between late September when it opens, and I want to say middle of November to late November, we still on average see 20 to 30 deer a hunt. I mean, a lot of deer. You know, for most places in, you know, the United States, to see 20, 30 deer a hunt is an average. That's pretty freaking good. I think there were 2 hunts all of last year that I didn't see a single deer. And that was when it was sleeting and raining hard and disgusting. But the season's way better December, January, and early February, because now you've got all the outside hunting pressure that's outside of the city limits pressuring these deer. And guess where they go? Every season like clockwork. They just pile into the city limit zone because they look at it as a no firearm zone, no hunting zone for the most part, except for my property. There's no other properties in the city limits here that are hunted. And so these deer just pile in here. And the previous landowner told me that. He's like, you're gonna see a lot of deer here. He's like, I usually saw 30, 40 deer hunted very selectively, you know, with winds and whatever else. But he's like, there's a lot of deer in there. He's like, but I'll tell you what, he said, as soon as gun opens up that first weekend, he said, that property just gets packed with deer. Like, it is crazy how many deer cram in there because there's no guns going off. The deer can just keep on piling in here, and there might be deer everywhere, but nobody's shooting. You know, so he's like, they freaking love it in there. I wanted somebody to have the best hunting experience possible, and so I wanted to do somebody a late season hunt between December, January, early February, so you have basically like 2.5 months to pick your window of when you want to come out. And it's going to be a 3-day hunt, I think 4 nights, and it's going to be a freaking blast. Late season, we saw actually probably more bucks in late season than we did the early season in terms of shooter bucks, like nice freaking deer. One of them was right here, January 18th, chasing a doe and breeding her right here. There was a whole bunch of does with him actually. There's probably 8 to 10 does in that one buck. There was another time my wife and I were out here, we saw 40 plus does. Real nice buck in there, and another younger buck following around with them. Pretty much every hunt we saw a lot of deer. But the one I was gonna get back to telling you, my bad, was the time I saw between 80 and 100 deer. It was insane. So it was the first snow of the season last year, and I want to say it was probably December 15th or 16th. It was like mid-December. We got our first snow, and it was, I'm like, I looked at the forecast, I'm like, I gotta get out there. It's gonna be our first snow of the year. I want to be out in the woods, you know, just because, you know, it's my own property. I've always dreamed of harvesting a deer in the snow, and with my brother, and he was on the far side of the property, and I was coming in and I saw a doe bedded down across the river, and I was like, okay, cool, that's a good looking deer there. Huge doe, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's a buck with her, just kind of waiting, looking around. Oh, there's another deer. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. Man, how many are there bedded over there? So, and I thought, man, there's probably got to be 10 or 12. So I texted my brother, I was like, hey man, just so you know, I'm seeing there's 10 or 12 does over here, so I'm just gonna hold tight and, hang out here for a little while. I'm not gonna, still hunt any further into the property. You just do your thing. So he's like, okay, cool. He's like, there's a bunch over here too out in the field. I was like, oh, cool. So we're both seeing a bunch of deer. And then I'm sitting here just waiting. I'm like, man, they got to get up. Eventually they're gonna get up, And then sure enough, they start to stand up and feed out. And I kid you not, within an hour, there were so many deer walking out of this section of woods. I thought, my brain was just spinning out of control. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I've never seen this many deer coming out of one spot. And they were just coming and coming and coming and coming. But I was only hunting for a buck. And, I was so picky that season because I'd seen so many deer. The first hunt of the year, I shot both my does for my 2 doe tags. My option was 2 doe tags and 1 buck, or just fill all 3 with doe tags. And I didn't want to do that on my own property. There's a ton of deer in here. And I'd seen a lot of bucks in the early season too, and so I was like, I knew they were in here. I was just being picky, and I didn't want the season to end. You hear guys say that sometimes, and you think, oh, okay, yeah, so you didn't shoot the buck because you didn't want your season to end. I'd fill the tag if I got the shot. It was actually a turkey walking around over here. There she is. Anyways, what I was saying was, I really was excited to just keep on hunting because it was my own property and I wanted to see what the late season was like, you know, and I wanted to get a feel for the property entirely without having to wait multiple years and be like, oh, well, I've never hunted this late into the season. I don't know what late season's gonna be like, because I was used to being, you know, like at my parents' property, late season was kind of like the cutoff. You weren't really seeing much in late season. It was only early archery season, and then that's your best part of the season. But I genuinely want to just keep on hunting and see what happened on the property, because that guy's like, late season is crazy. And I was like, okay, well, I want to hunt late season then. I'm out here and I see these deer coming out, and I see, you know, I text him, I was like, well, I guess there's more like 30 of them, you know, and they keep piling out into this one spot, and they're just like filling up this whole lower valley right here along this river system, and it's just dumping snow, you know, so they stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, they're just all over the place, and most all of them were within 150, 120 yards, but I wasn't shooting a doe. I was waiting for a buck, and so, you know, but with the snow coming down so hard and it was getting later in the evening, it was kind of hard to tell what was a buck and what wasn't, so I just assumed that most of them were does or young button bucks. And so they're just coming out and coming out and coming out. I said, well, now I think there's close to 50 of them. And he's like, dude, yeah, right. I said, no, I'm serious, you know, and I'm sitting there. I said, oh my gosh. I'm like, dude, they're still coming out of this trail. And there had to have been, I just took a guess, there had to have been between 80 and 100 deer. I mean, I was counting them until I got to about 50, and then they just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. So I was like, I'm not even going to bother counting anymore. There's a lot of deer. To sum it up, there was a lot of deer. It was insane, and I had only seen that happen one other time, and that was at a property over in Ohio, in a different part of Ohio, central Ohio, and it was on this guy's property where he owns like 300-400 acres of just prime Ohio hunting ground, and there's like a few people that get to hunt it, and so it's just always loaded with deer. But other than that, I didn't think that was possible to be seen anywhere else. I'm like, unless you own hundreds of acres of ground that's just not touched by anything more than a couple people, then that's just not realistic. It's realistic here, and that was the one time I saw between 80 and 100 deer. Other than that, though, pretty much every other hunt I came out here in late season, we saw a lot of deer. I mean, we still saw 30 deer usually minimum. I mean, we saw a lot of deer, but I thought that was like, this is as good as it gets, but I'm good with that. I mean, that's a lot of deer, so I'm happy with it. I don't care to see another deer more than that every day. I mean, I don't know what else to ask for, you know, this is just unreal. And that happened, I was like, oh my goodness, mind blown. But anyways, that was the tale of when I saw 80 to 100 deer. People, you know, some people don't believe me, but you know, the people that do are believers, and they understand that that stuff really is possible, and it really is. I've seen it a couple times now. That's the first time I've ever seen that on, you know, my own ground though, and that was unbelievable. So to sum it up, the deer are very well herded up late season, and there's just a lot more to pick from in late season. When they all get pushed into here, you're literally getting the pickings at like all the neighbors' deer that they weren't able to shoot. They're all on our property that time of year, and we saw nice bucks all the way up until the last day, still holding their antlers. So, you know, don't let that get you discouraged, like, oh, it's a December, January, early February hunt. No, trust me, you don't understand. If you think that time of the season is a bad time to hunt, you have not hunted a super low pressured spot that gets flooded with deer late in the season. And the way the property's set up with those huge strips of timber outside of the city limits on both sides that, you know, all come to an end right in the middle, and I own that huge chunk in the middle, it is freaking crazy. You probably won't believe it until you see it, but trust me, we're gonna be out here hunting, we're gonna be out here filming your hunt, we're gonna make some believers out of some people. It is mind-blowing. So, and also if you want to go check some of our other hunts, we did do some, you know, early season archery filming on here, and you know, even in those hunts we saw a lot of deer, but nothing like what I saw when I was out here that one time. And of course I didn't have my camera. I'm not out here filming in the late season whenever I was by myself, because there's snow and it's wide open. I'm not like carrying a camera around, you know, like when I'm on the ground hunting. So that was the only time of year I did that. Pretty crazy stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoy these videos and coming out here and hanging out with me in the woods, and just kind of hearing hunting stories, I guess, in this one, and then just what's going on with the property, ins and outs of some details of being a property owner, certain stuff you got to deal with and put up with, because I know there's a lot of young guys out there that would love to own their own ground, and if you want to know what it's like to own your own ground, it's not always the same situation for everybody. But let me just tell you this though, it is very, very, very realistic to own your own ground at a really young age. I'm 21 and I've already got 2 properties in my in our homestead, of course, where we live. If you can wait for a really, really good deal, and you can find those really good deals, sometimes they're not even listed, and you just got to go ask an elderly couple that's got some ground, like, hey, I don't know if you guys ever use your woods back here, but if you would sell me your woods in an easement or something, like, you know, I'd love to buy them off. You'd be surprised how many people are like, yeah, I'll sell you my freaking ground. Make them a reasonable offer, nothing that's like crazy premium, but enough to get their attention and be worthwhile. I mean, I'm telling you guys, you can get some good deals on some ground. Make sure it's in a location you really want to hunt though, and it has a lot of hunting potential, like a lot of deer potential, like this place does. Hopefully guys, you're just as excited as I am about this late season hunt that one of you guys get to go on. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.